The quiet hum of a small American town was broken on a cool autumn afternoon when flashing blue lights cut across an otherwise calm street. To onlookers, it seemed like just another routine traffic stop, a pair of local police officers pulling over a black SUV with tinted windows. But what happened next would become the kind of story people whisper about for years. It was more than an arrest. It was a mistake so monumental, it changed careers, shook a department to its core, and sent shockwaves all the way to Washington, D.C. Inside that vehicle sat a woman whose presence alone could command a battlefield. Tall, composed, and sharply dressed in civilian clothes, she was no ordinary driver. She was General Alexandra Hayes, one of the most respected military leaders in the United States Army. Decorated, brilliant, and known for her iron will, she had spent decades leading troops in combat zones and shaping national defense strategies. But to the officers who pulled her over that day, she was just another black woman behind the wheel. They didn't ask questions. They didn't recognize the uniform folded neatly in the back seat or the Pentagon identification card tucked into her wallet. Instead, arrogance and prejudice guided their every move. What followed wasn't just an arrest. It was an insult, a violation, and an act of ignorance that would cost them everything. Because when General Hayes picked up her phone and made one simple call, their lives began to unravel faster than they could imagine. The stop began with Officer Reed tapping his flashlight against her tinted window. His partner, Officer Daniels, hovered nearby, one hand resting on his holster as if danger lurked inside every dark vehicle. "License and registration," Reed barked, not bothering with a greeting. General Hayes rolled down her window slowly, her expression calm but firm. "Good afternoon, officers. May I ask the reason for this stop?" Reed smirked. "Tints are too dark. Suspicious vehicle. Step out of the car." She didn't move. Instead, she handed over her military ID along with her license. "You'll find everything is in order. I'm General Alexandra Hayes, U.S. Army." Reed glanced at the card and scoffed. "General? That's cute. Fake ID. Step out of the vehicle now." Daniels chimed in. "Let's not waste time, Reed. She's resisting already." Hayes raised an eyebrow. "Resisting? I complied. You're making a serious mistake." Within moments, Reed yanked her door open and grabbed her arm. Hayes, though trained in combat, didn't fight back. She knew better. She understood that sometimes power wasn't in the fist, it was in patience. As they cuffed her and pushed her against the car, a crowd began to form. Phones came out. People whispered. Someone shouted, "That's not right." But the officers didn't care. They dragged her into the precinct like a trophy. Reed bragged loudly. "Got ourselves a fraudster claiming to be a general. Let's see how long this act holds." The desk sergeant raised an eyebrow at her ID. "This looks real." Reed snorted. "Yeah, right. Since when do generals drive around small towns in black SUVs? She's lying." The sergeant hesitated, then shrugged. "Book her. Let's confirm later." They threw her into a holding cell. The metal door clanged shut. For the first time, Hayes allowed herself a thin smile. They had no idea who they were dealing with. She pulled out the one call every detainee was allowed. Dialing a secure number from memory, she spoke calmly. "This is General Hayes. I've been unlawfully detained at the Brookdale Police Department. Connect me to the Pentagon immediately." Silence. Then the operator's voice stiffened. "Yes, ma'am. Right away." Within 20 minutes, the chief of police's office phone rang. He answered, annoyed, only to hear a stern voice. "This is the Department of Defense. Release General Hayes immediately. You have 5 minutes to comply. Failure will result in federal intervention." The chief froze. "General Hayes?" "Yes. The same general you currently have handcuffed in your holding cell." Sweat dripped down his temple. He sprinted to the cell block, fumbling with his keys. When the door opened, Hayes was standing tall, composed, and utterly unbothered. "You've made a grave mistake," she said, brushing off her sleeves. The chief stammered, "General, please, this is a misunderstanding." She cut him off. "A misunderstanding? Your officers assaulted and humiliated a decorated officer of the United States Army. Do you have any idea what this means?" Reed and Daniels, standing nearby, looked pale. Daniels muttered, "Wait, she's real?" Hayes turned to them with a cold, sharp gaze. "Real enough that your careers are over." The fallout was immediate. News broke within hours. Local journalists flooded the precinct, demanding answers. Headlines blared across national media. "Police arrest four-star general in case of mistaken identity." "Pentagon demands investigation into Brookdale police." The mayor issued a shaky statement calling it an unfortunate incident, but it was too late. The Pentagon had already launched a full inquiry. Reed and Daniels were suspended without pay. Internal Affairs opened files on misconduct, racial bias, and abuse of authority. Their reputations crumbled overnight. Friends stopped calling. Families looked at them differently. Hayes, meanwhile, returned to Washington, D.C., where her story became a rallying cry for accountability. At a press conference, she spoke with the authority that only years of leadership could give. I was not just arrested, I was profiled, stripped of dignity because of the color of my skin and the disbelief that a black woman could hold power at the highest levels of our military. This is bigger than me. It's about every person who has been silenced, doubted, or abused under the weight of prejudice. That ends now. The crowd erupted in applause. Reed tried to fight the charges. He went on television claiming he was just doing his job, but leaked body cam footage told a different story. The footage showed Hayes calmly identifying herself, complying, and still being dragged out like a criminal. Public opinion turned vicious. Daniels quietly resigned, unable to handle the backlash. Reed clung to his badge until it was ripped from him during a public hearing. The department faced lawsuits, protests, and federal oversight. Budgets were slashed, officers left in droves. The name Brookdale PD became synonymous with disgrace. And through it all, General Hayes never raised her voice, never lashed out. She let the truth and the power of her position do the work. Months later, Hayes visited a military academy, speaking to young cadets about leadership and resilience. True strength, she told them, isn't about how hard you hit back. It's about knowing when to stand still and let others destroy themselves with their own arrogance. The cadets hung on every word. Meanwhile, Reed and Daniels were forgotten, men who had once strutted in uniform, now unemployed, broke and bitter. Their downfall wasn't just about one mistake. It was about the arrogance that blinded them to the truth. And the truth had a name, General Alexandra Hayes. And so, a routine traffic stop turned into a national scandal, proof that ignorance and prejudice can undo entire careers in a single moment. General Hayes walked away stronger, her legacy intact, while the officers who thought they could demean her were left picking up the shattered pieces of their lives. It's a story of justice, power, and the undeniable truth that respect should never be optional. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more powerful tales like this, where arrogance meets its reckoning and the underestimated rise above, make sure to subscribe. Your support helps keep these stories alive.